أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أرواحنا له فلا أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والله أخرجكم من بطون أمهاتكم لا تعلمون شيئا وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة لعلكم تشكرون صدق الله العلي العظيم. So yesterday we began the final advice of Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam to Anwan Basri, and we'll just read the hadith over again and give just a slight translation and maybe give a few indications of some of the things that we mentioned yesterday. Since the audio was not working, we're not going to linger on those things. So this final advice, which is the last three things of the 9 things that Imam Sadiq, he was advising on Anwan Basri for, he says, وَأَمَّا اللَّوَاتِي فِي الْعِلْمِ, and it has to do with or concerned with knowledge. He says, أَمَّا اللَّوَاتِي فِي الْعِلْمِ فَاسْأَلِ الْعُلَمَاءِ مَا جَهِلْتَ وَإِيَّاكَ أَن تَسْأَلَهُمْ تَعَنُّنًا وَتَجْرِبَةً وَإِيَّاكَ أَن تَعْمَلَ بِرَأْيِكَ شيئا وخذ بالاحتياط في جميع ما تجد إليه سبيلا واحرب من الفتية حربك من الأسد ولا تجعل رقبتك للناس جسرا. So Imam Sadiq, he advises him for 3 things, and we can summarize these 3 things in seeking knowledge. What is the etiquette of seeking knowledge? Second is how to use that knowledge and benefit from that knowledge. What should you act upon, how you should act. And the third is with regards to imparting that knowledge upon others. So with regards to seeking knowledge, the Imam, he states that you should ask the ulama, you should seek your knowledge from them, those things which you do not know. And you should not ask them in a way that you're being cynical, ta'annunan wa tajribatan, or you're trying to kind of measure up, as we say, trying to measure this person up and see how much he or she knows. This is not the appropriate way to ask and to inquire about those things which one does not know. In fact, if a person wants to learn, then if he or she is not able to process those things, as we mentioned yesterday, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alhamdulillah, He has blessed humanity with the ability to learn, to process. He's given them the basic faculties of hearing, seeing, touching, and then also an intellect, the af'ida, as it states in this verse, because the af'ida means heart, but also, according to many of the commentaries, they say that what it indicates upon is the intellect, the ability of mankind to process. So if a person is not able to come to some understanding of a thing by using those faculties that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him or her, then that individual should refer to someone who is more knowledgeable or learned than them in that particular issue and to inquire about what he or she does not know about. The second advice deals with knowledge itself, or even this process of knowledge and how one should act. That a person should act based upon knowledge, based upon proof. If they have proof and evidence for something, then he or she should act upon that by his or her opinion. This is what Imam Sadiq says. He says, وَإِيَّاكَ أَن تَعْمَ بِرَأْيِكَ شَيْئًا. That a person should not act simply upon their, I would say that unfortunately it happens, is that we will see that our mujtahideen, and they have come to understand Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim, what is possibly the intended meaning, and then someone who doesn't understanding, he said, if the marja gives this fatwa, he says, this is right. Or I think something that's completely opposite. Our mushahideen come across this. This is like saying that, a person who has not studied medicine, and a doctor says, well, you should take this medicine. And you say, no, I think I should take this other medicine. And you don't know the full effects of the other medicine, whereas the doctor knows the full effects. So this is the same case. One, you may be playing around with your physical life. The other, you are playing around with your spiritual life, your life in the hereafter. So this is why the Imam, he says, don't act based upon your opinion, but you act based upon knowledge. Either you have researched and you are at the point that you are able to understand that thing and you act upon it, or you rely on someone who has knowledge and who is able to determine what is correct and incorrect with regards to religion, with regards to everything, but in this particular instance, we are speaking about our faith and our religion. The last advice that the Imam, he gives to Unwan Basri, and it is tying into the previous two advices of how to seek knowledge and how to act with regards to, or in relationship with knowledge. That you act based upon knowledge, your actions should be based upon knowledge, should be based upon something that is grounded in knowledge. Then he states, وَحْرُبْ مِنَ الْفُتْيَا حَرْبَكَ مِنَ الْأَسَدِ. This is very sweet the way the Imam, he states it. وَلَا تَجْعَلْ رَقَبَتَكَ لِلنَّاسِ جَسْرًا. He says, and fun from giving fatwas. I don't think anyone, if a lion is in front of you, you wouldn't just stand and like, okay, well, it's okay. This lion that may attack you, may eat you. The instinct that a person will have is that they will run. They wouldn't stay. So Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, he's saying, with regards to giving the fatwa, and in relationship with that advice opinion, someone is giving they don't really understand a thing, but they say, well, I think we should do this, or you do this. And they're telling someone else to base their action and their life upon an opinion, upon something. So he says, you should run from this like you're running from a lion. And don't make your neck a bridge for someone else. Because what happens, and I'll mention this is also one of the reasons why sometimes, and this question came up to me before, that some individuals say, well, why in many of the books of Islamic law, of our maraj, you see, they'll say, oh, precaution, take precaution, take precaution. They say, oh, this is ihtiyat. They say, why so much ihtiyat? This is because they don't want to, make their neck the bridge for other people, if in case that issue, which they haven't really come to any conclusive opinion about, it could possibly be that this is the case. To give you one example, and we all have this, they would say that it is based on obligatory precaution that the man should wear his beard, or based on this precaution they were saying. This is one of the things that you'll find in the fatwas of the Maraja. So the reason why they say this obligatory precaution, they say, well, there's evidence that it shows that, well, someone should have this. However, it's not conclusive to the point that I can say that it is absolutely wajib. But at the same time, I can't say that it is, you could just shave it off. This is what majority of the mushrihid, as they say. You may have a few who have slightly different fatwas. But the reason why they give that air of obligatory precaution is because if they say that, oh, it's wajib, then some evidence comes out and shows, or some other mujtahid who reaches to a level he's able to actually determine and to decipher, says, no, it's not wajib. Then that individual who's saying it's wajib, he's going to be held accountable for it. On the day of judgment, you won't be asked. He will be asked. Or if he says, oh, no, it's okay, you can shave it, you can cut it. So on the day of judgment, if it turns out to be that, no, you were supposed to have the beard, then you won't be asked about it. That's, of course, if you're following the rulings of the mujtahid, of the maraji, because they will be asked about that. When you're asked on your own, why did you do this action? Why did you pray in that way? Why did you do it this way? Of course, if you're following the law based on what your mujtahid said, you have an excuse. Well, I followed those who knew. This is what Allah, you wanted from me, that you sent for us guides, you sent for us leaders, and I read this book. This is the marja. From my understanding, he was the most knowledgeable. He was the one that I should follow. So therefore, I followed based on the laws according to this book. And so then the question will be to that marja, to that scholar who issued the ruling, who did his research. And then yes, if he's done his research properly and he's actually pinpointed the actual law, then that's a thawab in it. If not, then, again, as long as he did his due diligence and he came to that point, then Allah will perhaps forgive him for that. We'll say that, okay, well, this is something that you didn't actually, or weren't able to come to the conclusive idea or understanding of, but you've made your effort, you've fulfilled your duty and your responsibility. So this is one of the reasons why, again, if a person is not a mujtahid, then he makes taqlid. And this is also at the same time why that status and that station is something that is very weighty, very weighty. In fact, even some of our scholars, even some who are at a very high level, some of them have actually not wanted to actually take that position. And they only took on the responsibility because they realized that it is a duty, it is a responsibility. It is something that that they may be obligated by. That if they don't come forward and teach, or at least guide others, then they will be questioned about that as well. One of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he states in the Quran, particularly with regards to knowledge and understanding, he states that knowledge should not be withheld. He states, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَكْتُمُونَ مَا أَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْبَيِّنَاتِ وَالْهُدَى مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا بَيَّنَّاهُ لِلنَّاسِ فِي الْكِتَابِ أُولَٰئِكَ يَلْعَنُهُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَلْعَنُهُمُ اللَّاعِنُونَ. It says that whosoever hides or does not, whoever hides and does not disclose that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed, min al-bayyinat, from the clarification, from knowledge, and from guidance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has sent down, He has sent forth for mankind, of course from the book, from the Quran, then that person is cursed by Allah and those who curse. So you see that this also fits into this concept, as one of my teachers says. He says, one of the best things you could do and most difficult things you could do is seek knowledge, particularly knowledge of the Quran and of the traditions of Ahlul Bayt alayhim wasallam. He said it is the best thing you can do because you begin to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's communications to you, the guidance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from you, the guidance that was left in the tradition of the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim wasallam. But then it becomes very difficult and weighty. Why? Because on one hand, you have to act by it. And on another hand, you have to, again, teach others. And this is a responsibility for everyone who has some understanding of the Quran and some understanding of the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim wasallam. And of course, it will vary with the degree of a person's knowledge. So if a person, let's say for example, they know that what is right and wrong, and on a very simplistic level, that this thing is halal and this thing is not halal, or this meat is halal and that meat is not halal. And someone asks you, hey, is this meat halal? And you say yes, but it's not halal, you're going to be held accountable for that. Why? Because you have understanding of that thing. But on a much higher level, with regards to issuing rulings and giving fatwas, and this is why that even on our levels, that if someone asks us a question, we say, well, what do we do in this point? If you don't know, then go and look in the book of Islamic law. Don't give your own opinion or what you think. Say, okay, well, I'm not sure. I'll go look it up, and then I'll give you the answer. So you should flee from that like one who flees from a lion, according to Imam Sadiq. But this is not to say that in the time of Imam Sadiq and also our other Ai-Imma alayhim wasallam, there were not individuals who they actually encouraged to go and to give rulings for people. This is something that was going on in the time of the Ahlul Bayt, not simply afterwards. So when we think of this, also this institution as well of scholars who are very learned and who are actually delivering rulings to individuals, this is not something that began simply after the Ahlul Bayt. Some try to think that, oh, no, the system of marajiyat, the system of ijtihad is something that happened in the time of Ghaiba. No, it didn't happen in the time of Ghaiba. It was actually also in the time of our Imams, alayhim wasallam. That there were certain individuals that, when we look at this advice for Unwan Basri, we'll see that there's the opposite advice for other people. And that advice for Unwan Basri is a general advice, yes. Meaning that if you have not reached to that level of understanding and being able to understand the Quran and understand the ahadith, the way that you should, the way that someone who has studied for years, someone who has reached to the level of Ishad, then yeah, you flee from giving fatwas. But on the other hand, we find individuals like Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman, or Ali ibn Hadid, Zakaria ibn Adam, Muhammad ibn Muslim al-Thaqafi, Zurara ibn Ayun, and Abu Basir. These are individuals who, at times you will see that the Imams, they will say, yes, go and you sit in the masjid, and at times even the masjid of Nabawi, the masjid of the Prophet. He says, you sit, waftun nas, and deliver the fatwas to people. According to one of the statements, it says, Ijlis fil masjid al-Madina, wafat al-nas, فَأَنَّا أَحِبُّ أَن يُرَى فِي شِيعَتِي مِثْلُكَ. So he tells one of them, and I believe this is the one to Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman, I'll check, but in one of the narrations we find that the Imam, he's telling one of his companions, he says, go and you sit in the masjid of Medina, the masjid of the Prophet. He says, deliver the fatwas to the people. He says, فَأَنِّي أُحِبُّ أَن يُرَى fi shi'ati mithluk. He says, I love to see among our Shia, among our followers, those who are like you, those who have gone forth, those who have learned, those who have come to understand the Quran, understand the teachings of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa Muhammad wa Muhammad. So we see that this is not something, again, and I'm emphasizing this because there's been a lot of talk about, this concept of marji'iyat is something, or this concept of going to someone other than the ma'soom to receive knowledge or fatwas is something new. No, it's not something new. It's not new at all. Of course, it is more prevalent now than during the time of the Ahlul Bayt, and this is because our Imam is in Ghaiba, but during their lifetime as well, not everyone had access to the Imam. Even in the engagement of Unwan Basri, when he came to the Imam, apparently, as I stated from the context of when Unwan Basri he went, Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam told him, he says that, I'm someone who, I'm under the eyes of the authorities, and I'm engaged in my ibadat. Which apparently it seems that it's a time after Imam Sadiq had the window of teaching, that when the Umayyads and Abbasids were at war, the Imam, he was free to teach, and he had thousands of students. But once the Abbasid government, it solidified its power, then the Imam was under pressure. He was not free to go about as he was before. So so instead, what people would do is that they would go and they would seek out the students of the Imam. Some of a lot of Imams as well. Imam Hassan al-Askari, a lot of people went to his companions. Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman, for example, he was one of them. And if the Shia wanted to understand that, okay, well, what should we do in this action or that action, they had to follow what these companions, they stated. And this is basically grounded in also part of the teachings of the Imams as well, what they have stated and what we have definitely from Imam Sadiq alayhi wasallam, and also from a few of the other Imams in slightly different wordings, but one of the hadiths that is narrated from Imam Sadiq is إِنَّمَا عَلَيْنَا أَن نُلْقِيَ إِلَيْكُمْ الْأُصُولَ وَعَلَيْكُمْ أَن تُفَرِّعُوا. He said that we have given the principles. We have laid down the principles and the foundations for what should be done, and it is upon you, again, those individuals who go forth, who seek knowledge, who seek understanding, it is up to them to expound upon those principles. And once they expound upon those principles, then for everything that comes about in the day-to-day lives of the believers, then they will be able to at least respond to that or have some sort of answer for those things. Which also comes into one of the even statements of Imam Zaman. He says, وَأَمَّا الْحَوَادِثُ الْوَاقِعَةِ فَرَجِعُوا فِيهَا إِلَى رُوَاةِ حَدِيثِنَا. He says, whatever comes about that is new, says, then refer to those who, here it says, رُوَاةِ حَدِيثِنَا, those who narrate our traditions. But again, what our scholars have understood from the collective body of these types of narrations and traditions is that these individuals weren't simply narrating the traditions. For example, Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman, Muhammad ibn Muslim al-Thaqafi, Zurara, they weren't simply saying, oh, well, this is what the Imam said. And on some occasions, yes, they have, okay, this is verbatim what the Imam said, but quite often what they were doing is that they were looking or taking the words of the Imams, and they were applying them to the various situations. They were understanding how to apply that. This is the process of ijtihad, which again, it began or it was existing during the time of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim afdalus salatu wassalam. And just to re-emphasize this idea, before we give a recap of our lecture series during this blessed month, just to recap this idea that why we should abstain from just giving or haphazardly giving rulings. Because if we give a ruling and that ruling is simply our opinion, but it's not based upon what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed in His Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself, He states, He says, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. In another place He says, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ. It is something that it takes us out of being a true servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That if we give people simply our opinion. So with that, I'll kind of conclude this lecture series, and maybe since we have a few minutes, we can open up for a few questions and answers as well at the end. But I'll just recap our entire discussion for this blessed month of Ramadan so that it will be fresh in our minds, and so we understand what exactly should we gain from this hadith of Unwan Basri. And again, I'll state that if a person wants to go and they want to read this, this is one of the recommendations of Sayyid Qadi Tabatabai, the teacher of Allama Tabatabai, the teacher of Ayatollah Bahjat. He was particularly their teacher in spiritual wayfaring and how to gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If someone wants to read it in English, of course the Arabic is available, there's Farsi translations as well available, and to my knowledge, there's a English translation available also. If you go to alislam.org, al-islam.org, and if you look up Unwan Basri's name, you do a search, Unwan Basri, U-N-W-A-N, Basri, B-A-S-R-I. If you look it up in that way, you'll find it. Or if you go to the book, it's called Self-Building. The book in Self-Building, if you look it up Unwan Basri's name, it's going to give you the option to go to Self-Building. So in the book Self-Building, there's a section where Ayatollah Bini, he gives the advice of the imams to their two different individuals on how to gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so this is under that section where Imam Sadiq is giving advice to Unwan Basri. So what we should gain from this particular hadith as we are reading it, or if we go read it again, is that we should never think that we are too old to learn. That we should constantly seek knowledge, as the Prophet has told us, from the cradle to the grave. Unwan Basri, as we mentioned, he was a man of 94 years old, and he's going to seek knowledge from the Imam. Also, in the process of learning knowledge or seeking knowledge, we should make tawassul, we should pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for success, because our success in learning and understanding the Quran and understanding the hadith of Ahlul Bayt and what our duty and responsibility is will only come through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help. Once we do that, the first advice that Imam Sadiq he gave to Unwan Basri, he says first and foremost, in order to simply begin this path of learning, a person must become a true servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the way to become a true servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to meet three conditions. The first condition is to know that whatever we have, that it belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That we have no true ownership over anything. The true owner of everything is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, it will make it easy for you to give in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Secondly, is that one must put his or her affairs in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Know that the manager of one's affairs is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in this way, whatever difficulties a person will face, then he or she will face it, you could say, relatively with ease. They would know that, well, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's placed me in this situation, that I am to learn something from this situation, something from this difficulty, and the one who will also take me out of that situation would be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a person would have more confidence and be more firm even when they're facing difficulties and trials. The third thing, in order to become a true servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that a person must be engaged in their ibadat, their worship, obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doing what is obligatory, abstaining from those things which are forbidden. And in this way, a person would not be seeking the world or seeking to excel himself over others, or what you say, tafakhur, to take pride in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given it to him, then alhamdulillah, it's a blessing, it's a ni'mah. But that person doesn't use it in order to belittle other people. Why? Because that individual is engaged in his worship. So after achieving that and becoming the true servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then one begins this path of learning and seeking knowledge. And what is important on that path of learning and educating oneself are these 9 advices that Imam Sadiq he gave to Unwan Basri, 3 which concerns the self and the well-being of the self, 3 concerns ethics and a person's interactions with others, and 3 concerns knowledge. The 3 that concerns the self means that what Imam Sadiq he stated is one should eat less, one should eat that which is halal, which is permissible, and third, whenever one eats, he or she should say the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over that food. The 3 things concerning ethics is that a person should not be hasty in rebutting others. So if someone's saying something to you, and saying, you shouldn't be hasty and get angry quickly and wanted to rebut someone. And if someone criticizes you, then you should see what is that criticism. That if that criticism is true, then you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you for that shortcoming. But if that criticism is not true, then you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive that person for what they are stating, which is not true. And third, if someone treats you badly or turns away from you, gives you the cold shoulder, you should not treat them in the same way, but rather you should pray for them and you should try to mend your ties with others, with your brothers and sisters in Iman. With regards to knowledge, as we just mentioned, to ask sincerely, so seek knowledge sincerely. Number 2 is to not act based on opinion, but act based upon knowledge. And third is that one should abstain from giving fatwas or giving rulings just simply on your opinion. So this was a summary of the hadith of Unwan Basri and what we can learn from Unwan Basri and his encounter with Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. So with that, I'll end, and we probably have time for a couple questions, so we can entertain those. Yeah, it could be. No question. Any sisters? No question?
Nothing to do with this topic, but on the subject of fitra.
Mm-hmm.
I heard some alim say that if you take out money for the fitra, that same money should reach the beneficiary, the needy.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that the same currency which is taken out, the same thing should reach the...
So the question is, if a person has taken money, and this is prior to the Eid or on the same day? Which one? Because there's... Okay. So basically putting money aside or putting something aside, money or grain aside. So the case is, the question is that if someone puts aside money or puts aside some grains or something, if they put the actual rice or whatever that they're going to give for zakat al-fitr aside in order to give to the poor, the needy, then this should reach to the needy themselves, this actual bag of rice or actual money. So the question is it possible? Yes, it's possible, and under normal circumstances, yes. If you've put it aside, then that should go to the needy. However, if there's, let's say, for example, something that comes up, so you put this bag of rice aside, and okay, I don't have a needy person in my city, but then I figure out that, oh well, in another place there's a needy person. So can you ship the rice to them? Yeah, you can ship the rice to them, or you can say, well, since the person is in that city, another city, it's actually easier for them to get the money. So what you do is that instead of giving them rice, you can send them the money as well. So it's possible, but you have to see the circumstances. If there's no hindrance in giving them what you actually set aside, then you give them that. So
in this case, we have planned to give out cards, grocery, for the grocery store.
Yeah.
Rather than giving them the exact cash which we collected.
Yeah.
Is that a problem?
No, because it's the equivalent. So it's equivalent. Because according to the Sharia, if you can actually give the grains itself, then you give that. So instead of even giving the cash, you actually give the rice or the barley or the wheat. That's actually kind of a priority. But if you're not able to do that, then it's allowed to give the money. And the card is also the same as money. It's just as good as cash as well. So.
Any question on the sister side? I have a quick question on fidya. So when you miss a wajib fast, it's, correct me if I'm wrong, you have to make it up as soon as possible after Ramadan, as soon as you're capable of making up that wajib fast?
Yes, you have to make it up before the next Ramadan comes.
So
if you
for the fidya that you have to pay for a missed fast, you have to pay it before the next Ramadan? Or as soon as possible?
You should pay it as soon as possible. So the thing is that even before the next Ramadan comes, you should pay it. You can pay it at the end of Ramadan. So
Okay.
because it's obligatory.
One thing about fidya, you pay it if you don't fast it.
Yeah, if you don't fast until the next Ramadan.
If you pass
the next Ramadan, yeah.
you have to pass.
Oh, so if you make it up before the next Ramadan, you don't have to pay the fidya?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay. Makes sense.
Okay, good. Because some people,
Even though it looked confusing, it makes sense.
No, actually, some people. The reason why you asked your question, because some people actually have fidya to make up, fidya to pay. Because so if, let's say for example, last Ramadan, someone was not able to fast, and then this Ramadan came, and they did not make up the fast from last Ramadan, so then they will have fidya for this Ramadan, and so they pay it. They can pay it right away, immediately, or even on the day of Eid they can give it. But if simply a person miss a few fasts this Ramadan, as long as they make it up before next Ramadan, there's no fidya for it. But if they don't, then they'll have fidya. So, they have to make up. You have to make up the fast. Fast is obligatory to make up the fast. Here's the thing. If you miss a day in Ramadan, let's say for example, today you miss today. You weren't able to fast today. So you have 1 day of fast to make up. And you have an entire year, like after Ramadan, you have an entire year to make up this one fast. Now, if you make up the fast before next Ramadan comes, you're fine. You've just made up the fast. But if you don't make up the fast and the next Ramadan comes, it starts, then you have to make up that fast and then you have to pay a fidya. It's clear? Okay.
Any other questions?
One more
One,
question. Any questions from the sisters?
Sister side?
Assalamu
Alaikum salam.
Wondering, what if a person forwards a message
on WhatsApp, if we are not sure about the authenticity of the hadith, would that break his fast? Someone is just forwarding random hadith from somewhere.
No, it doesn't break the fast. But it's better that if a person is forwarding a hadith or these type of things, to say that, well, it's from this book. It's good to mention the source, that it is reported that the Imam said, reported that the Prophet said. So, and normally if they're doing that, they may have the chain of narrators, or it's kind of understood that they are forwarding it from somewhere. It's from some source. So it doesn't break your fast. Alaikum salam.
Fast on a certain day in Ramadan, the wajib fast, they go then there's legitimate reason for not fasting. But someone doesn't fast, then so it be fidya or some,
Okay, so okay. If a person does not intentionally fast, in other words. Okay, yes. So if a person does, if a person does not fast intentionally, then they have to make the qada of that fast, and then they have to make the kafara. And the kafara is either to fast 2 months consecutively or to feed 60 poor people. So. Yeah, 2 months per day. Each day, 2 months per day. So for every day missed intentionally, meaning that the person has the ability to fast and they just didn't fast. It's just 2 months. They have to make the qada of that, which is 1 day. Then they have to make the kafara, which is 2 months for each day. So. Huh? Yeah, they will feed 60 people. So, all right. Salawat.